Welcome, everyone, to another episode of From and On Prisons, a podcast on prison literature. Today, we have a special guest with us, our very own Professor Dr. Prasananchu, who teaches us English here at NLU Delhi. Professor Dr. Prasananchu is, well, many things. He is a renowned academician, he is a poet, he is a manager of various linguistic groups and poetry groups, and he has specialized in endangered languages and the interface between law and language, amongst many other things, such as linguistics, neurolinguistics, psychological linguistics, clinical linguistics, and so on. Thank you, Professor Prasananchu, for agreeing to interview with us today. Now,
Thank you very much.
these I'll be passing the spot over to my friends for asking you questions.
Uh, all right, sir. I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you for joining us here today and gracing us with what I'm sure will be a very thought-provoking and insightful interview. So, our podcast is centered around analyzing pieces of prison literature and talking about the importance of writing in general for prisoners. And, sir, you yourself have been a very active writer writing a lot of scholarly pieces, articles, and poems, and other literary pieces as well. So, how do you think literature has impacted your life?
Uh, Literature is known to be or called as a mirror of society. And what is society? It is made up of people. So it is about lives. And if you read literature of any language, you come to know about its culture, lives, individual people's lives, and what are the scenarios, how people may think. Literature has elements of everything: psychology, history, culture, a lot of things which are about the human beings. And when you study literature, you get a sort of shortcut to the lives. So your experience expands.
Uh, all right, sir. So, and what do you think about the value of writing literature and not just reading it?
They are very different things. And writing is expression. We all have the need to express ourselves. For some, this need is bigger, and for some, this need may be of a different type. We express ourselves in many, many ways. Our creativity needs expression. So some people make statues, some people uh, draw, make sketches or paintings. Some people express themselves by means of music, song, and with that, we very soon come to poetry. Perhaps poetry is one of the most basic types of literature, and it associated with it is stories, novels, drama, different forms. So it is expression of the self in different ways. But I don't see that there is a fundamental difference between these ways of expression. That is expression. You can see fundamental differences, but if from the perspective from where I am looking at it, expression can take different forms.
All right, sir. Actually, talking about poetry for our podcast on prison literature, I ended up writing a poem because I was very moved after reading the stories of so many prisoners, and I felt the need to express that you talked about. So I'd like to, it's a short poem. I'd like to read it out for you and maybe hear your thoughts on that. May I start, sir?
Please, please.
I sit alone in an empty cell, and the prison walls stare at me, reminding me of the crimes I did, and no amount of remorse seems to set me free. Inside this cell, surrounded by walls of stone and bars of steel, I create another cell inside my head where fettered lie my dreams. Once inside, for the outside, a prisoner is all I'll ever be. So whether inside or outside, in my cell or in my head, a prisoner is all I'll ever be. So that's the poem, sir. It's called Prisoner. And I was really motivated by our talks in class and your constant encouragement for students to write and express themselves. And I'd really like to hear your views on this.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, that is true. And if you read Gandhiji's How I Saved a Client, that is something about this. You can send someone to prison, but saving someone is a different thing. Uh, I see some connection there. Likewise, in Tolstoy's God sees the truth but waits, a similar situation can be encountered. So you have depicted it beautifully.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
So thank you for sharing your insight about the importance of expression and the importance that the cathartic value of writing and need for expression as such. So, sir, since our podcast specifically deals with prison literature, we wanted to know, in your opinion, how can writing benefit prisoners specifically, and especially considering that many of them aren't professional writers or haven't had any sort of training in writing?
I think writing does not need training, excepting for knowing how to write. But these days, you don't even need that training. You can just record what you want to say. It is like the training you require in speaking. We hardly need any training in speaking. We are able to speak. This is inbuilt. Parents don't speak with us in normal language usually when we are small, when we are learning to speak. They use motherese. There is a term for that, a very strange type of language, and still we end up learning, and in a very, very short while. If I want to teach someone a language, it may take 10 years, 20 years, but when a child is learning, it takes only a few months to learn the language. And by the age of 5, they are wonderful speakers. Likewise for writing. Language is an expression which is inherent in us. And same thing I think about writing or creating. It is not writing. Writing is a misnomer. Creating, being creative, and giving expression to that. I don't think you need too much of a training. You must have seen in my class that so much creativity is going on all around, like including this, what you are doing now. Did I give much of a training? No. I just said these are the possibilities. And you can come to me if you need any help. You would see that people are producing dramas, movies, I don't know, a lot of things. Stories also, they have been producing. So expression is inherent to us, and especially when we are not deadened in our feelings and mind. If you are given an opportunity, it will come out automatically. That same thing applies for writing. I remember when I was a child, I met a great author, Janendra Kumar Jain. And if I remember it well, he told me, I think I was 10 or 15-year-old when I met him, between 10 and 15. I my I went to see him with my father. My father was a fan of writers and poets. So he was telling how he started writing in the prison, in the freedom struggle. He was imprisoned, and there he started writing, and then he wrote for without any training. And he was known in Hindi, he is a big name, known to write psychological stories. So psychological stories will training in a couple of things, but where he started as a layperson, as an uninitiated person in a very unlikely place. So this is possible, and that is all I feel about poetry or any sort of expression. Don't curb it. As a teacher, Professionally, I am a teacher, but I don't think that I teach. What I do is I let people explore themselves, explore their creativity, explore their hunger and thirst for knowledge. I don't come in their way. This is my claim to fame, which is nothing, of course, because I am not doing anything. I am just not coming in their way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the next thing that I just want to ask was, so throughout this podcast, through many episodes, we have tried to identify themes that are always recurring in prison literature. And we find that invariably, whether that's fiction or non-fiction, they involve kind of the same themes, themes like loneliness and isolation, abuse of power, brutality, resistance to this abuse, and things like that. These distinct themes that are woven through prison literature often prompt scholars to consider prison literature as a separate genre in itself. So I would want to ask, would you think that prison literature deserves this classification, or would you classify it as a separate genre in itself?
From what I have been saying, the line I have been taking in this talk, I think you can predict. I won't call it as, I won't go into the dispute or issue of genres. To me, it is one, expressing yourself. Therefore, when you are studying it, you may classify it. Yeah, this is a different type of thing. There is poetry, there are plays, there are stories, there are novels. Within all these, I can certainly create. If I have to create a course for literature, I can do that. I will say, I will take a uh, uh, transaction of all these existing genres, and I would say I can skim out the things written about prison, the circumstances there, and within that there can be more genres if you want. If I want to use the same terminology, that can be about justice, about injustice, about remorse, about divine law, about you know torture. It can be about psychological phenomena. There can be so many things. So it can have use if you want to divide it, if you want to see it as a different entity, category, genre. I have no problems. But it also has use if we don't classify it. These are different perspectives.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, while we were researching for our podcast, we ended up reading a lot of prison pieces. In fact, Pulkit was so inspired that he wrote his own poetry. And we also watched some movies. You might have heard of The Shawshank Redemption. It's a very famous prison movie. Won the Oscars as well, I think. And some local movies as well, some Malayalam movies, and some very famous TV shows like there's Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Orange is the New Black, and so on. So I just wanted to ask you, have you read any prison literature, and or do you think you've consumed any media which revolves around prison? And if so, what would you recommend? What were your favorites?
I already mentioned one, like God Sees the Truth.
Mm-hmm.
It is about incarceration of a person wrongly indicted, implicated in crime. So there was a whole spiritual transformation in that person. Um, there are a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so,
If we
and
and a lot of biographies, autobiographies like Gandhiji's and Nehru's autobiography, they can be diverted to your to your genre of prison literature. So prison literature has everything. It has poetry, it has literature, it has autobiographies. Because prison is a very dramatic thing. It is it is something like very violent. It is pure violence, but violence without blood, but no less violent than uh, that you can commit with weapons. And it's a psychological violence, it is a physical violence also. And hence, what can be the reaction to violence? You are disarmed in prison. Counter violence is also not a possibility there. The only possibility for saving you is creativity and giving an expression to that. Some people are lucky to even get paper and pencil. And a lot of creativity has been unleashed. We have basic, some sort of basic energy within us. You can divert it to many different things. One is creative, the other is destructive. The destructive form is violence, and the creative form is you can invent penicillin in the prison, you can invent toothbrush in the prison, you can write autobiographies, you can write history, you can think of many more things. And in the concentration camps, a lot of people were imprisoned, and some of them were able to express themselves. And prisons can be of several types, like the autobiography of Anne Frank, you must have seen. Strictly speaking, technically, it was not a prison diary, but it was it was almost a prison, practically a self-imprisonment, which means prison diary. So Anne Frank's diary can be considered as prison literature, if you like, although she was not literally in a prison. That was self-prison, but still, I think there are a lot of similarities in that. I was gifted with a book in Maithili recently. The title of the book is Jahalak Diary, which in Maithili means jail diary, prison diary. It was written by Professor UN Singh, and I don't think he has been to prison ever. Uh, I am not even indicating or can think of it, but yes, he was talking of uh, prisons of the mind. Like you also mentioned in your poem, there are two types of prisons. When you are in the prison, there is a prison within the prison. And this prison is not necessarily when you are in the prison. You can be in a prison outside of the prison also, and without four walls. So this literature is very vast, and it is a field of expression. As I mentioned, that it is a response to aggression, a response to violence.
Uh, all right. So you bring me to a very interesting point, actually. From your talk on Anne Frank and how
Yeah.
how prison literature is more or less just response to violence in creative ways. It brings me to a rather interesting point which just popped into my mind. So it's rumored that Anne Frank's diary was actually censored by her father before it was published. And he removed a lot of details and a lot of themes which he didn't think suited the diary of a teenager. And in prison, we have an analogous situation where everything you write in prison is censored by the superintendent before it's allowed to reach anyone on the outside. So the intended purpose of this is that no undesirable communication in the forms of, let's say, contacting to gang members or sneaking in contraband. But a lot of times this is misused when, let's say, prisoners are writing about the jail administration or how they were brutalized or how they're mistreated, and this also gets blacked out because, of course, the superintendent wouldn't want the outside world to know about this. So, what do you feel can be done on a policy level, on a personal level, or in any manner to ensure that prisoners have this right to write in the truest sense, as you also said that one struggles to come across pieces of paper and a pencil or a pen to even write in prisons, and there are strict rules as to whom one can write and not to the world in general. So, and in prisons, actually, a lot of times writing is described as a privilege, which can be taken away by the superintendent if he so wills it. It's not a right, as we sometimes think of it to be, for us at least, who are not in prisons. So, what are your views on that?
Yes, it's good that you have identified the problem and you have also given the solution or the situation. See, there are genuine fears, and the fear is that communication is power, and power in the hands of the wrong person can be dangerous. The ideal scenario is, or the concept is, that people dangerous for the society are kept away from the society. And there are several reasons. They individually are dangerous, and collectively they are dangerous. And collectively they are more dangerous. That is why communication is cut. This is the honorable reason. All right. But now dealing with them as individuals. When you deal with them as individuals, then this is a violation of their very fundamental rights. I would call human rights. But who will implement, how to implement, that is the issue. Like, some censorship is required in this situation. You can't give them cell phones in the prison. They can just run their gangs from there. So the solution is not easy. And I don't think I can suggest something directly about this, excepting for self-regulation. The superintendents or the persons responsible should be more exposed to human rights, to the concept of prisoner rights, to the concept of individuality. With this sensitization, it may become possible, and we can have a discussion. We can find some solutions. For example, that at least every prisoner should be provided with writing materials or recording materials, whatever is required, so that they can express themselves. Now, censorship can be there, but how much and for how long? This can be defined. For example, if they want to write anything, perhaps they should be allowed to write. But when to get it out of the prison is the issue. That is the question. Perhaps with their release, they should be allowed to take their materials with them. That's a possible outcome.
All right, so thank you for that answer. It's almost as if you were present with us all the time while we were writing the scripts for our episodes, as you very succinctly, beautifully, and possibly in a better manner than we were able to have put across all the points that we made in our episodes of how writing is an escape from violence, how it is a response to power being misused, and how communication in itself is a form of power, as it allows prisoners to surveil on the prison instead of the prison surveilling on the prisoners, and thus this apparatus of surveillance is sort of reversed if prisoners are given a free right to write. I'd like to thank you for joining us today and offering us very valuable insights, and it was truly an honor to host you. I hope you also had fun in our enriching discussion. And with that, we are at the end of the video. If there are any concluding remarks, Professor, you'd like to make, please make them.
Thank you very much. It was very enjoyable. And I think perhaps you can even have a part 2 on prison literature. It is so vast. It has so many dimensions, or anything else. I would always be happy. Thank you.
Yes, sir. In fact, it is a recommendation from all of us that some more pieces of prison literature, if it's at all possible to include in the syllabus, be included. because we believe it's the perfect interface between law and literature at points. But as you already know, the
You can
syllabus.
recommend.
Yes, so that brings us to the end. Truly, thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.